Hello, welcome, and sorry. Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to another Friday live stream, Maple Bitcoin. I'm Jor, and I'm joined by my good buddy here, Forrest, who's dressed up as Rajat for Halloween today. Rajat's on his third week on holidays, and me and Forrest are holding it down today. You did a pretty good job with this costume today, I'm not going to lie. But Rajat is back, everybody. Unfortunately, we don't have Forrest, though, in the house. He's touring the country now somewhere else too. So shout out to Forrest if he's watching today or later. But Rajat, big day in Toronto today.
Huge day.
Biggest day in Toronto history, would you say, or up there?
Probably not in history. I mean, to be honest, it really depends on who you talk to. A lot of people don't even care, right? A lot of the people in the chat, they probably have no idea what we're talking about, but it's the Game 6 of the World Series. Pretty interesting, but who knows? Who knows what will happen? If the Jays win today, that'd be huge, but the Dodgers are not a bad team.
Yeah. Well, the Dodgers, I think we'll spend about 30 seconds here on this bread and circus, but the Dodgers were pretty heavily favored to win the series for, I'd say 99% of, what do they call themselves? Analysts, professional analysts. They all gave the Dodgers the sweep or 5-1, but the Blue Jays have a chance to take the World Series tonight. So it is pretty big deal. Hasn't happened in 32 years since 1993 when Joe Carter hit one out of the park. So yeah. Hopefully we'll be cheering. Big shout out to all the Canadians out there, and hopefully we get something on the Americans for a change.
Absolutely.
Buck 52 said, what was that, Rajat?
I said sports ball.
Yeah, baseball, sports ball. Woohoo. Buck 52 says the Blue Jays have very unattractive uniforms. I disagree with that. I like the Blue Jays uniforms. I think they're sharp.
I think their costumes are pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what they are. They're costumes. That's right. Okay, so this one's titled today, The Worst October in Bitcoin History. And so we're going to talk about what the expectations, the reality of October, and a few other things, of course. So welcome everybody in the chat. It's good to see you. And if you have any questions, throw them in the chat, put them in caps. If you want anything highlighted, send a super chat or a zap over on the Nostr stream. And it looks like
I named mine slightly something slightly different. I named mine why we're still bullish on Bitcoin.
Nice.
Just because we're just I guess people need the positive and the negative. So
yeah. We always want to stay more positive for sure. So that's kind of what we're going to spend some time talking about today is Rajat and I both feel like the sentiment in Bitcoin's fairly low right now. And so we're gonna share some insights on who we've been talking to, what we've been seeing that say otherwise. But Letha over on Zapstream, she zapped us 8,888 sats to start the show today.
Wow, amazing! Thanks, Letha.
So thank you, Letha. And that QR code beside Rajat's head there, that is our above it, I guess I should say. We don't have Forest today, so it's not beside it, but above it. That's if you want to support the channel here and if you enjoy what Maple has been doing. So where should we begin today, Rajat? What do you figure?
Let's talk about something. Let's actually talk about how Bitcoin has performed in, I guess, in October versus historical months versus
good idea.
Really everything. I mean, I think that's something important to know because a lot of people are probably thinking, oh yeah, October should have been positive. So if October is negative, then you don't know what's going to happen.
I feel like every time everybody's expecting something to happen, it's always the opposite of that. Always, never fails.
True. Yeah.
So here's the, I mean, a pretty impressive chart overall when you stop and dive into it a little bit, but here's the past performance.
Yeah. So 3 months out of, or 3 Octobers out of the last 12 or 13 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. 13 years have 3 Octobers have been negative. 3 out of 13. So it would have happened, but you just didn't know when it was going to happen.
Is that 12.95% there in 2014?
2014. Yeah. Negative 12.95%.
Oh, I lied. I said that this is the worst October in Bitcoin history. It's not.
Second worst. Close.
I guess we haven't finished it yet, right?
Yeah, that's true. It could go a lot lower.
Could go lower.
Somebody asked, there was a comment there that said, where is it? Oh, does the historical data show that November will also be red due to how October went? So this is actually pretty interesting. you can see here, October positive, November positive. It actually seems like when October is positive, November seems to be more likely to be negative.
Look at 2018 though.
2018. Oh yeah, all bad.
I feel like there'd
So
be a
what was
lot of.
happening then?
I don't know. I wasn't around in Bitcoin at that point.
Is the block size wars ended like in 2018? No.
Yes, I believe so. And look at like the last 5 months of the year there, and the first month of 2019. So you had
Wow.
6 months in a row of downwards. That's a big. So 9, 5, 3, 36. We should
We
look
can
at the
actually look
chart
at
on
year
two.
over year too. So let's see what happened year over year. Where's the year over year?
I don't
I guess
know.
it doesn't show it on here, but whatever. It seems like the average for October is positive 19%. The average for November is positive 46%.
The average for October, what? Sorry, 19.
Positive
Oh yeah.
19.88%.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, right? Like, I think 6 months ago when you asked the majority of people in Bitcoin if are the cycles dead, I think that it was kind of 50-50, maybe even people saying, no, they're definitely not dead. But I think that that's changed. I think that if you ask the majority of Bitcoiners, who I pay attention to anyways, most people think that the cycles are over. So I think with that in mind, how can we put too much, significance into the past results if all this is kind of not for nothing, but I don't know if it has much of an impact as it did in the past in terms of the cycles and month to month, quarter to quarter, year to year. It seems like we're just kind of we've hit uncharted territories here almost.
Yeah. And it's crazy that people think, oh, the 4-year cycles are over, this and that, and what's going to happen in the future. But I mean, there's more demand right now than there ever was in the past, and we've been above
Significantly.
100 grand for almost 200 days.
Yeah.
That's wild. Last time, okay, so there was a question there from Human God. He said some people are using the 4-year cycle to justify their conviction that Bitcoin topped on October 6th and the bear market has started. What are your thoughts? I mean, I don't know, but I don't think that this is I don't think that the majority of people are right usually. So if we take a look at the fear and greed for Bitcoin, people are fearful. The tops the tops never form when people are fearful. They happen
Yeah.
when people are greedy.
Yeah.
They happen when people really want when retail investors really want to buy. That's when the tops form.
Yeah. I don't think we're anywhere near that right now.
Yeah.
Like the way I'm thinking about it right now is like, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. I have no idea what's going to happen. There's so many different factors now. And just the overall geopolitical landscape itself is just, it's crazier than it's ever been right now. I think anyways. And there's so many factors involved now. I think that the one thing that I always anchor back to is there's just way more demand and there's way less sellers than there was in any cycle before at any point, I think in Bitcoin's history. I think if I were to guess, this would just be a prediction of my own, but I think that everything else, all other assets have hit an all-time high against Bitcoin today. That's kind of how I see it. I think whether you're looking at gold that's had a huge run recently, or you're looking at real estate, which has been, on a upwards trend since 1971 when we went off the gold standard. The stock market is a big circle jerk of tech companies buying and selling from each other. I think that everything else, all other assets have hit an all-time high against Bitcoin, which means that Bitcoin's going to outperform all of them for the indefinite future, I would say. Maybe not today at
Yeah.
this exact point in history, but like this quarter or this year, whatever it is. That's kind of how
Yeah.
I'm feeling right now.
This is the fiat price of housing. It just keeps going up. But in terms of Bitcoin, it's absolutely getting destroyed. Like it doesn't like there's no way to say that this trend isn't over. It's gonna keep going down.
Well, I mean, if you just think about it, like all of that, the chart you showed there, real estate against fiat, that's the cause and effect of money printing. That's the cause and effect of when 1971 happened and they took the US went off the gold standard. All of a sudden, people needed an actual place to store their value. And that's when they started storing their value in real estate. So real estate isn't necessarily used for utility anymore. Not everybody lives in all the houses that when you drive down a block, especially in a city, a lot of those houses are empty. They're just being used specifically as a store of value because money is broken. And so I don't think that that's going to continue. People can't afford to keep paying increased property taxes, increased insurance, increased everything. I think a lot of that is going to flow into Bitcoin. I think Rajat obviously agrees with that. And with that in mind, I think that all other assets have hit an all-time high compared to Bitcoin.
Yeah. Check this out. Like this, I think that it's all, when people say, oh, there's so much demand for housing, there's this and there's that, you have to understand how many houses are unoccupied. People aren't living in those houses. 10% of houses in the US are unoccupied.
That's crazy. I didn't know it was that much.
Yeah, it's crazy. At some point, the people who own those houses they're not gonna want to own those houses anymore. But if they do want to continue to own those houses, I actually did a little bit of, the reason why I was away last couple weeks was because the first week, or a couple weeks ago, I had a conference to go to, and I spoke about how Bitcoin is a wealth transfer. And it absolutely is. So if somebody owns, let's say, 0.01 Bitcoin today, they could potentially buy a house at some point. And that only costs them what, $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 Canadian? But today a house will cost them like $1 million. So if you can at some point buy a house with that 0.01 Bitcoin, 1 million Satoshis, that's a wealth transfer from the real estate investors to you.
Yep.
Huge.
Yeah, Rajat did a keynote at the Canadian Bitcoin conference. How was that? I think we chatted about it, but what was how'd it go? Were you nervous about it?
I was so nervous. Oh man, I was sweating. So one good thing that happened was there weren't that many people watching it, but the people that watched, there was a lot of great interaction. People were asking questions. There was actually one guy. So my wife was there. Her cousin's boyfriend was there, and then he brought his brother-in-law. So his brother-in-law had nothing. He had no Bitcoin at all. He didn't understand it at all. He didn't want it at all. And at the end of it, he asked me, "How do I take a margin loan against my stocks to buy Bitcoin?"
Nice,
right? And that's one person orange pill. To me, that's huge. That's worth it.
Yep, absolutely. And it was in Montreal, right?
Yep, Montreal.
Yeah, that's cool. Did you see really any cool Bitcoin celebs?
I did. There was Lawrence Lepard was there. That was cool.
That's a celeb.
Who else was there? Adam from Bitcoin Well.
Oh, yep.
He was there. Nico was there. There were quite a few people. Brandon Gentili, is that his name? Brandon Gentile. That he was there. It was cool. There was a lot of people. There was probably in total maybe like 200-300 people.
Like in the audience.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh, no, in total, just at the conference.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Did you get a standing ovation?
No. No standing ovation. That's the goal for next time, I guess.
I think only Sailor gets those in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Maybe Maulers once in a while too.
And Maulers. Oh man, Maulers. Remember the keynote that Maulers gave when we went to Vegas? That was great.
Yeah.
That was so good.
We were sitting beside each other that day.
Yeah.
That was cool. We watched Lynn Alden, Jack Maulers, and then Michael Saylor.
And Ross. Andrew Ross. What's his name?
Oh, and Ross. Yeah. How the hell could I forget that? That's right. He was the main guy.
Yeah. He was the one. He was the closer.
Yes, he was.
That was cool.
Yeah. It was Rajat, Jerry from Jerry Loves Freedom, and Kev, right?
Kevin.
Is there anybody else? I hope I'm not forgetting anybody there, but I think there were just 4 of us. That was it.
The others, I guess they were in other parts of the conference doing their own thing.
Yeah. Or sitting somewhere else.
Yeah. Really great comment from Awesome Nice there. I don't understand how people have a fearful sentiment at 109K. Right? Yeah. Like these people wouldn't have been buying in 2022 when it was at the bottom.
There was a comment I saw the other day that said Peter Schiff is now calling for Bitcoin, that's saying that Bitcoin could go to 75K, which means that that's the worst case and like the biggest Bitcoin bear's mind is $75,000 Bitcoin. That's pretty good. I think we're doing all right. I talked a little bit about this on the show today, the daily stream, but I kind of said like for the people who are buying Bitcoin right now, which is most people, like I feel like we're in the accumulation phase. There's a lot of people who want to call Bitcoin this or that and have all these different use cases for it and try and decide what Bitcoin is. But I think that that's just going to slowly play out over time. I think as we move to more of a free market, a decentralized world, that those things will kind of take care of itself. There's a lot of very smart people working in Bitcoin right now. I think for people like us, our number one goal right now should be accumulating. And when you're accumulating these scarce units called Satoshis, you want the price to be lower. This is a blessing to everybody. I know everybody likes the dopamine hit and the excitement of when we're running up and stuff, but when you actually just stop and think about it, like where we are today, it's much better that Bitcoin is $100,000 versus $1 million. Those are two significant things. When $1 gets you 900 sats versus $1 gets you 90 sats, or would it be 90 even? 90 or 9? I don't know. But
At
anyways,
$1 million, it would be 100 sats per.
yeah, so 90.
Yeah,
because it's 110 right now, I guess. So that's kind of what I'm basing it off of.
How do you deal with that, Jor? Like when you see the price going down, sometimes even I feel like, oh man, the price is going down. I mean, logically, I know, okay, if the price is going down, I can get more Satoshis. If the price goes to 16K, then if the price went to 16K, I know for a fact that I would be at least a little bit scared. But I know logically that it means I get more Bitcoin. How do you deal with that?
I'm kind of numb to it, honestly, now. If it goes up like 1 or 2%, if it goes down 1 or 2%, it's just another day in Bitcoin for me. When it drops, though, like it did, I remember driving into the city and I saw it drop from like 117 or whatever it was down to 105. And I was just like, what the hell happened? Like, I didn't even think of like something really wrong happening. It's just what Bitcoin does sometimes, right?
Yeah.
But when it goes down a lot, the first thing that comes to my mind is like, what can I sell to buy more Bitcoin? What can I sell from this house or whatever else I have in my portfolio to put into Bitcoin?
Yeah.
And I don't, it doesn't bother me at all. There has been some things in the last little while, including watching the debate between Peter Todd and Jameson Lopp versus Luke Dasher and Bitcoin Mechanic, where I thought like, oh my God, I have my entire net worth invested in this asset that these people are are in charge of in a way, and in kind of a roundabout way. But yeah, that was kind of like the most unsettled I've been in a long time. Just not what could be, but just how like poor the discussion was, how immature they were having that conversation about something. It, I think Bitcoin Mechanic had some really good points, but the other three were just kind of like taking shots at each other, and it just seemed like an amateur hour up on stage. And it's like, this is a pretty big deal. Why are we taking this so lightly here? But in terms of price, as long as nothing happens and the price is just going up or down, I'm pretty numb to it all.
Yeah. Yeah, same. I feel like there are times when I feel like, okay, when it dropped down to 105K or whatever,
Yeah.
I panicked a little bit, but then I was thinking, I mean, it's eventually going to come back up.
Yeah.
Eventually it'll come back up. The thing is that when you own Bitcoin, you know that if you understand that this is the best asset in the world, you know that it'll eventually come up. But if you own some other currency, like let's say, for example, there was this cryptocurrency that named Cadena. Do you remember that? A few weeks ago, basically it just went to zero. And the development team said, we're not going to be maintaining it anymore. And it literally went to zero just right off the bat. Like it fell to zero and it's never going to recover. There are other cryptocurrencies that let's say, okay, so let's say somebody mentioned XRP before. We don't like XRP. There are a lot of issues with XRP, but if XRP falls in terms of Bitcoin, I bet it's never going to come back. Unless it's being massively manipulated, it's never going to come back. But with Bitcoin, I know for a fact that, okay, Bitcoin falls against US dollars, perfectly fine. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I see it too. And this is what I was thinking about, and I kind of wanted to get your opinion on this, Rajat. But I think, to me, in my mind, anyways, Bitcoin today, regardless of what the fiat exchange rate that they tell us is worth, I see it as being at least $10 million per Bitcoin today, and I'll explain why. We all know that gold is probably the closest comparison we have to Bitcoin. And if you go 1-to-1 with gold, I think that puts Bitcoin over $1 million per Bitcoin if it was 1-to-1 in terms of market cap.
Yeah.
And I think that Bitcoin is far, far superior to gold in all characteristics of it. And I also think that, again, absolute scarcity is different than pretty scarce. And so with that in mind, the reason why I say this is because right now, I'm sure if you went on to the streets, let's say in Las Vegas or New York or whatever city on the planet that you want to name, if you took a poll or you asked 100 strangers to explain Bitcoin, I would be surprised if one of them could. And if we were at a point right now where 50 people, 50 out of 100 people could explain Bitcoin, then I would say, okay, this asset's fairly valued.
Yeah.
But because that's not the case, we're nowhere near that. If 50 plus people out of 100 understood Bitcoin and this was the price, then I would say, okay, fairly valued. But that's not the case. So what I'm trying to say is, just because they're telling you that it's worth this much doesn't mean that it's actually worth that much. That just means that nobody understands what this asset is yet.
Yeah. Like if you ask somebody if they understand Bitcoin, like there was a guy, okay, so I had a meeting with somebody, I had a one-on-one meeting with somebody who he said that he understood what Bitcoin is. And I asked him, do you know what the difficulty adjustment is? And he didn't. He had no idea. So if he knew what Bitcoin was and he's bullish on it, and he didn't know what the difficulty adjustment is, then how much does he actually understand what Bitcoin is? How bullish can you be if you don't quite understand an asset? But then I explained it to him, and at the end of it, he became even more bullish. And that's what it is, right? When people are bearish, like Michael say, or no, sorry, Peter Schiff. Peter Schiff, yeah, Peter Schiff constantly says, "Oh yeah, Bitcoin has no value. Has no value." But I don't think he'd be able to explain the difficulty adjustment.
Agreed. Well, we were just talking about our Vegas experience. Remember that?
Yeah.
The guy beside us?
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if we've told that story or not before, but basically Rajat and I were watching, I think it was Sailor actually, and we were sitting beside this guy, and I
No,
don't know, I don't think he knew who we
it was
were, did
Lynn
he?
Alden.
Oh, was it Lynn?
I
He
think it
might
was
have
Lynn
known
Alden.
who you were actually,
I think
but
he did. Yeah.
either way. So Lynn was talking about, was it Lynn or was it Sailor? One of them was talking about the hash rate.
I think it was Lynn.
Might have been.
Yeah.
Either one.
Maybe you're right.
Whoever was
It doesn't
presenting.
matter who it was. Whatever.
Yeah. They were talking about the hash rate, and kind of leading up to this, Rajat and I were having a conversation with this guy, and he basically, you could tell that he had a lot of Bitcoin. He basically told us that he had been in Bitcoin since like 2017, 2016.
2016.
You could tell 16. You could tell he was doing pretty well for himself financially. And so Sailor or Lynn, whoever it was, started talking about the hash rate. And I looked over at this guy, and he's searching into his phone. What is hash rate? What is Bitcoin hash rate? So this is somebody who's been in Bitcoin for close to 10 years, and he didn't even know what the Bitcoin hash rate was. And I think that what that really means to me is that you can be as bullish as you want to, but it's more important to me about like the conviction that you have. Because if the price starts going down or starts crashing and you don't have that understanding, if you don't have that knowledge and conviction, you're going to sell it. So those Bitcoin might as well not even be yours at this point, because Bitcoin goes up, it goes down. But if you don't have the conviction and the knowledge to hold through that, those really aren't your Bitcoin. You're just kind of holding them for a while, I think.
Yeah.
And speaking of hash rate, I mean, this has got to be one of the most bullish charts in existence right now.
Yeah.
So this is the last, well, since Bitcoin's inception, since 2009. And you can see here the first, let's say 8 or 9 years is pretty much flat. But at the time, if it looked like this, it wasn't flat. It was going up and down like this, but it just looks flat when you zoom out like that.
Let's zoom in a little bit.
Yeah.
On every time frame, it's like this. Look at this. I'm zooming out. I'm zooming in. You can see every time frame, it's exactly like this. It's crazy.
And so we moved. If you're somebody out there who's somewhat new to Bitcoin, the hash rate basically represents the total electricity and energy that's securing the Bitcoin network. So, and put very simply, every time somebody plugs a miner into the wall, the hash rate goes up. Every time somebody unplugs a miner from the wall, the hash rate goes down. So this is the total energy going into the Bitcoin network. And at the start there in 2009, you could basically mine Bitcoin on a laptop because it required such little energy to be able to mine a block. So we started, what was the measurement at this point, Rajat? Was it mega hash?
It was mega hash? Yeah.
So think about these measurements like we would with like file storage. Like you take a picture, it has like 3 megabytes in it, or
Yeah.
you have a video, it's like 3 gigabytes, or you have a hard drive, it's 3 terabytes. That's what this is. It's different forms of measurement. So every 1,000 units, it goes up to a new measurement. So basically what happened there is we started at mega hash, and then I think we went to gigahash, and then we went to Tera. No, not Tera.
So it went from mega hash to giga hash in, I don't even know what these numbers, I don't know when it happened. So let's just take a look.
About a
So
year.
from mega hash to giga hash in 2010.
Yeah.
Then from gigahash to terahash in 2011. From terahash to petahash.
Yep.
2013. From petahash to, let's see, to exahash. 2016. Then it was in exahash for a while.
10 years.
And now I think it's at zettahash.
Yep.
ZH. And hashes, this just so everybody knows. I know people probably, like, even that guy, he didn't know what hash rate was, and this is a really important concept. Yep. We're not judging him at all. That's not what we're doing here. We're just telling you that there are people in Bitcoin for so long, they just believe that Bitcoin is going to go up, and they haven't really done the research. So what a hash is, a hash rate is the amount of times that it guesses to try to find the right number that's required for the Bitcoin network. So basically what the Bitcoin network is doing is it's looking for, I'll show you guys something. So SHA-256 calculator. So what Bitcoin is doing is it wants an output. So I'll go generate. This is called an input. This is a SHA-256 input, and this is a SHA-256 hash. So this is the output. Basically what the Bitcoin network wants is an output that has a certain number of leading zeros. So what that means is that these first few numbers have to be zeros, these first few digits. If you keep guessing, let's say, for example, you keep guessing, you're going to get different numbers every single time. So did you notice that this was different from the previous one? And then if we add another one, another little bit here, completely different. Basically what these computers are doing is they're guessing as many times as they can, and each guess is called a hash. So these computers now are guessing millions. I don't know what's a zettahash.
It's a lot. I think it's more than 1 trillion times per second. Zettahash.
Is that what it is?
I'm pretty sure.
Crazy. Zettahash meeting. So yeah, there you okay. So this is the number 10 to the 21. That's crazy. So this is the amount. This is the amount of times that computers are guessing to try to find the right output on the Bitcoin network. Is that per second?
Per second.
Per second. Yeah. ZH per second. So this is the amount of times that these computers are guessing every second.
Sextillion. So that's not trillion or quadrillion. I don't know what 5 is.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That's crazy. And over time, as more computers want to guess and as computers become more efficient, you're going to see this number rise and rise and keep rising because more computers are essentially guessing. And as more computers, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say insane.
Insane. Yeah, as more computers guess, there's more competition for mining. So you can see here, all these computers are guessing. And over time, because people are going to figure out what Bitcoin is, the way that I see it, the way that I see things going, right now, it seems like mining is very centralized with a few different mining pools. But over time, you're going to see companies that are creating appliances that you can use at home. And those appliances are going to contribute to Bitcoin, to the hash rate. So we have heaters now. At some point, I wouldn't be surprised if there's like ovens and microwaves
Well,
for
it's just
mining.
like we're wasting heat right now. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a waste of energy. Like the appliances that we have around our house right now is a waste of energy. So
Yeah.
anything that requires heat, whether it's a house or an oven or a pool or a spa or whatever it is, a shop, greenhouses, instead of just wasting energy, why not mine Bitcoin? So you're still getting the same amount of heat, but you're getting subsidized for the energy that you're putting out. And so, yeah, I 1,000% agree with that theory that, everybody's pretty concerned with centralization and all this other stuff, but Bitcoin, I think what we've seen so far is it kind of has a way of working itself out. Like everything's very difficult to do by design in Bitcoin. Everything changes and happens very slowly by design in Bitcoin. And as that number increases from mega to giga to tera to peta to exa to zeta to whatever's next, that just is more bullish for Bitcoin.
Yeah. Even in the last year, look at how much it's increased. So it went from 738 exahash all the way to 1.24 zettahash. So it's up like 70 to 80%
in a
And
year.
do you think that the price is a lagging indicator, or do you think that the hash rate is a lagging indicator?
The price is usually lagging.
Okay.
But it hasn't. I guess it has. I mean, that even though we're only at 110%, this year, it's still up, probably in the same kind of direction as the hash rate. So, because you have to think about miners from a miner's perspective, right? Like their main costs are energy. And so if they don't think that if they think that the price of Bitcoin is going to go down in the future, they're probably going to unplug some of their miners because their electricity costs are going to exceed their potential return, their revenue. And so they start unplugging. And so I don't know if it's a lagging or if they're directly correlated in any way, but that's usually how miners react to it. And you'll notice too, every difficulty adjustment, you see a bunch of miners unplugging if there's going to be an upwards adjustment because they're not efficient enough to compete fiscally. So it doesn't make sense. It's a little bit different now, though, because I think that the costs of mining Bitcoin are actually lower than the costs of buying Bitcoin at this point. That's kind of what I've gathered
Is that what it is?
from conversations. Yeah. So in other words, if you wanted to buy Bitcoin right now, everybody knows it's $109,000 US or whatever we're at today. And if you were mining Bitcoin based on the averages, the amount of electricity required to do that, I think, would be about $80,000 or $85,000. So it's actually cheaper to mine Bitcoin right now than to buy Bitcoin. A lot of times that fluctuates where it's like 1 and 1, or it's even more expensive to mine Bitcoin. So that's when miners start unplugging.
And apparently there's certain countries that have a really low cost of mining. So there are some countries in the Middle East where it costs like $1,000 because the cost of energy in those countries is very, very low. Oh, somebody asked a question, really great question. KIKFULGORE. They said, great breakdown. Can you explain why it's looking for zeros when it mines and how the difficulty adjustment works? So what I was showing there before was with that SHA-256 the SHA-256 generator. I mentioned that, okay, so let's say, for example, you put in a certain input and you get this output. So the reason why it's looking for those leading zeros, they're called nonces, from what I know, NONCES. So the reason why it's looking for those leading zeros is because that makes it more difficult to find those outputs.
Right.
Right. So the more zeros that are before the small, it's basically like a smaller number, right? So let's say if you have this number, versus, let's say, I'll just paste it here again, versus just a bunch of zeros leading, it's much harder for you to find a number specifically that has this many leading zeros than it is for you to find a number like this, because this is just a random number. This is more like, okay, you have a parameter that you have to find and you have to stick to that parameter. So let's go into the difficulty adjustment. That person asked for the difficulty adjustment as well. So if we go to the difficulty adjustment, you can see here, the difficulty adjustment is the goal of the difficulty adjustment is to keep the average block time at 10 minutes, because what we want is, as more computers, so what Jor was saying there, as more computers join the network, as the hash rate increases, technically, if the difficulty adjustment didn't go up, then blocks would happen. They'd be mined faster and faster. So with that, the leading zeros being with those leading zeros being added, what it does is it makes it so that it's harder to mine Bitcoin, even though more computers are joining the network. So over time, what it does is it ensures that the time between blocks is averaging 10 minutes. So if we go back to this page here, difficulty adjustment, right now it's at 10.2 minutes. So it's supposed to be at 10 minutes, meaning that the difficulty adjustment, so the difficulty has to go down to bring it back down to 10 minutes, because maybe some nodes or maybe some miners dropped off. But you can see here previous plus 6.31. The week to week adjustments aren't really relevant. What happens is the difficulty adjustment happens every, what is it, 2056
16.
blocks? 2016 blocks, right. So every 2016 blocks, it's going to see how many blocks have been, or how long did it take. And let's say, for example, if it took 11 minutes per block, it's going to decrease the difficulty adjustment, because that means that there are not enough computers that are, I guess, hashing.
Yep.
And one of the things that people say is, oh, if Bitcoin's price falls, then there's not going to be enough miners. Or if there's no transaction fees, then there's not going to be enough miners, or whatever their reasons are. That's what the difficulty adjustment is for. Once you understand what the difficulty adjustment is, you can see that, okay, most of the things that people say are just bullshit. It has nothing to do with Bitcoin, and they haven't really studied what Bitcoin is. This is probably I would say that knowing the difficulty adjustment is probably an intermediate level of knowledge. What do you think?
For me, honestly, I think that once I understood the difficulty adjustment, that's where things really changed for me. That's when I had maybe 10x the conviction that I had, maybe 100x, maybe even 1000x before.
Wow. Okay.
I just think that that's so important, because you kind of alluded to where if the difficulty adjustment, if the blocks were coming in too slowly, like every 11 minutes, then the difficulty adjustment would come down. But on the flip side of that, if there was a bunch of people who started mining, a bunch of new companies who started allocating energy towards the Bitcoin network, the blocks would be coming in too fast.
Yeah.
And that's a problem, because when the blocks start coming in too fast, that's when the network gets out of consensus. And when the network gets out of consensus, that's when it goes down. And that's what we've seen with, I don't know if it was XRP or Solana or Doge, but like they're spitting new blocks every, X amount per minute. This is every 10 minutes. So every 10 minutes on average, there's a block that's mined. The network comes to a consensus, and then you go to the next block. And so that's for me. And even if you think about it this way, I really encourage everybody to go watch a presentation from Jack Mallers. I think it was called Bitcoin is Time, something like that. It was in Madeira a couple years ago. But he basically explained that gold is stuck in the ground. So let's say the price of gold shot up to $100,000 an ounce. There'd be a bunch of people rushing out to the mountains to try to mine gold. And they could, with technology, with resources, with people, you could get gold out of there quicker if needed. If there was enough demand for it, you could get more gold. But with Bitcoin, if the same thing happened and Bitcoin all of a sudden shot up to $100 million per Bitcoin, regardless of how much demand there is, we cannot mine Bitcoin any faster. And that's when we have like the supply schedule of Bitcoin up until 2136 or 2140. We can rely on that because of the difficulty adjustment. Even if the hash rate 10, 100, 1000x from today, the blocks would not come in any faster because of the difficulty adjustment. So gold is stuck in the ground. That was Mahler's point. He said gold's stuck in the ground, Bitcoin's stuck in time. And no matter how much demand there is for Bitcoin, we cannot increase the supply of it. And that's such an important thing, I think, for people to understand.
Yeah. Oh, people think that this may not be live, and
I know. We're
they
kind of
told me
ignoring
to
it.
chat, and I think they were trying to get me. They were trying to say like, "Oh, jump higher," and I did it. So I commented.
You bet. We are live. And speaking of that, I want to give a couple shout outs here, because there's a lot happening over on Zapstream actually right now. As mentioned, Letha zapped us 8,888. Merchant zapped us 100. Cannon,
wow,
with a big zap of 4,210 sats, who said Happy Global Independence Day as
very nice.
The Bitcoin white paper day today. And Cannon also zapped us 2,100 sats. Said, I agree. Even if one person gets value, it's worth it. Wow. Thank you, Cannon. Thank you, Letha. Thank you, Merchant. And thank you, My Path to Fire. Pretty cool.
Yep.
Pretty
Oh,
cool.
we got a super chat, by the way. Maybe we can answer that. So they said, can Bitcoin work as a steady income supplement? Say I earn 100K in Canada and sell 10K of BTC every year to offset inflation. Is that a smart bridge towards partial retirement? Instead of doing that, depending on how much Bitcoin you have, I actually made a video about this just maybe yesterday. I think that would be smarter to borrow against your Bitcoin rather than selling it, because all you're doing when you're selling your Bitcoin is you're giving it to MicroStrategy, you're giving it to BlackRock.
Yeah.
Right? Why would you want to do that? What's the need for that? I don't want to give my Bitcoin to BlackRock. I'd rather hold on to it. And until more people are accepting Bitcoin, I'd rather borrow against it. And the rates over time will keep decreasing and decreasing. And there are already other institutions that are allowing it. So let's say JP Morgan, for example, they said that they want to give Bitcoin backed loans to people. They want to use Bitcoin as collateral. And I don't know, I think that's going to become way more widely accepted over time.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I mean, I grew up on the Rich Dad Poor Dad book. That's what really changed my perception around investing. And I bought a rental house, which I eventually sold to buy Bitcoin. But that's the whole premise, right? Is you accumulate assets, you never sell the assets, you take on debt against the assets, and that's kind of what you use to either buy more assets or fund your lifestyle with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that it wouldn't be smart to sell 10K worth of Bitcoin a day or a year, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on, but if you're just saying that you're going to sell 10K of Bitcoin per year, technically that, depending on how much Bitcoin you have, technically that Bitcoin could last you your whole life. Because the 10K is, it's what we talk about all the time, right? Over time, you have to sell less and less Bitcoin to get that 10K.
Right. Yeah, it's one of those things where as the price of Bitcoin goes up, the people who are holding Bitcoin, whatever they need, right? Because think about your specific situation in your life right now. I'm sure regardless of who's watching this and how bullish you are about Bitcoin, you're probably wanting to use your Bitcoin for something at some point in your life, whether it's a new house, new cabin, new truck, new trip with your family.
Yeah.
So once you have enough Bitcoin or your threshold is met, you can buy that, whatever that asset is. But at that point, because Bitcoin's gone up so much in price, you actually have to sell way less of your Bitcoin. So as time goes on and the price continues to go up or the exchange rate continues to go up, you just have to sell less and less of your Bitcoin. And just you're going to just start shaving off sats and like very small amounts. And that's, I joked in like 10 years from now, you're going to be able to go to the gas station and pay 50 sats to fill your tank of gas. And think about what 50 sats would do to your Bitcoin stack. Like it would be, you wouldn't even notice it.
But it depends when you started stacking, right? If you started stacking, and let's say you start stacking in 20 years, 50 sats may not be
true.
You may not be able to get to 50 sats.
True. Very true.
Maybe you're going to be buying 0.001 sats at that time. Oh, the Wu wanted to know, Jor, how low can your voice go?
The woo-ah.
Yeah.
How low can my voice go? I don't know. I don't know if that's a real question or not. This might be the same person who was giving me like 10 compliments about my beard that one show. I think they might just have a different account today. It might be my mom or something. Who knows?
They also want you to sing some Barry White.
I'm not singing on the show. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want that either.
I just talk too much. So my voice is just like, I keep having to clear my throat because we talk too much on here. Rajat and I do too many videos for trying to get people into Bitcoin.
We do. Oh, they also said they want to go camping with you and we don't need a fire. Your voice will keep them warm.
Oh my God. They're probably trying to get me to blush.
That's really
Anyways.
Funny. Oh my God.
Let's carry on the conversation here. And I finished my coffee and now it is officially Guinness time.
Very nice.
So cheers to all my Irish friends out there. Okay, where do we go from here, Jat?
Oh, actually, there's another question from Param. So the person who sent that super chat, they said, is there any safe borrowers out there now? A lot of fallout from previous companies that used to allow you to borrow. When do we go into RBC and have them give me fiat? That's probably going to take a long time. I actually asked who was it, TD, if they accept Bitcoin as collateral, and they're like, "What? No." They just shut me down immediately.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I actually used Bitcoin as collateral to buy this house.
What?
because I don't have a job, right? If you want to go get a mortgage, a lot of banks ask for like T4 in Canada. You need like a record of employment or a pay stub. In the US, I think they're called W1s or W2s, something like that. But because I don't have one, they asked for a net worth statement just to show like what assets I had. And I put Bitcoin on there and they accepted it. So I don't know if that's actual collateral, but it kind of is. That's what collateral would be to me.
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah, I didn't really say, can I buy this house and use collateral, Bitcoin as collateral? They just asked me for my net worth and I put Bitcoin, which is a big part of it. And they gave me the house. So I don't know. I would consider that accepting Bitcoin as
That's
collateral.
pretty good. Which institution did you go with?
Is a credit union.
Oh, credit union. Okay. Yeah, credit unions, I guess, are different. I guess what I mean is that the big banks probably aren't going to figure it out until a really long time from now. But then again, if JP Morgan is saying that they want to, and did you hear Michael Saylor saying that institutions are going to probably start doing Bitcoin-backed loans in 2026? I thought that was pretty interesting.
He said it was a rumor though, right?
I don't remember what he said, but I heard him say something along those lines. Maybe you're right. But I think Canadian banks usually follow American banks, and if American banks start doing it, Canadian banks are just around the corner.
It's a very interesting dynamic to me, I think, because everybody knows that Ledden has loans right now, and Rajat, you've used Ledden before to try them out.
Yeah,
they're awesome, but the rates are like 12%, and it's one of those things where I don't know if like rates are going to come down for Bitcoiners or what's going to happen with that. I really feel like Bitcoin's the best collateral for tons of reasons. Is better than land. It's better than anything else because it's so liquid. If you stop making your payments, the bank can sell some of your Bitcoin in 5 minutes and pay off your, the amount that you owe them. But on the flip side of that, it's like, why would these credit facilities hold that much cash when they could just buy Bitcoin with that and earn a 60% rate, right?
Yeah.
So I really think that the whole dynamic, I know that the world right now that we see in front of us is kind of like fiat and Bitcoin. But I don't think that both of those two things can coincide forever. They're two totally different things. And it's one of those things where we talk about like, the real estate is very heavily tied to the fiat system. The stock market is obviously very tied to the fiat system. I think that the only thing that isn't really is Bitcoin. Maybe if you have an ounce of gold at your house, that's not tied to anything. But Bitcoin's kind of like the only thing that's like separate from all that BS. And that's why I don't pay too much attention even to the fiat price that they say Bitcoin's worth, because it's just they don't commingle. They're two different things.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think somebody else asked how much Bitcoin would you use for your Bitcoin backed loan? I would say maybe limit it to 5 to 10% if you can.
Yeah.
And it depends on whether it's a bull market or a bear market. If it's at the bottom of the market and Bitcoin's already dropped like 80%, then you can probably go a little bit higher. But if Bitcoin is like in the middle of a bull market or not even the middle, let's say it's near the end of a bull market. I mean, who knows what the cycles will look like going forward, but let's say it goes up like 10x. You're not going to go and take on a 50% loan to value loan on your entire stack. That would be stupid, because if Bitcoin drops like 37%, then you're liquidated. That doesn't make any sense. But it depends on where you are in the cycle. Depends on the price of Bitcoin. Depends on how, I guess, where we are in the market. That's probably the most important thing.
I'd say the rates too.
Yeah, rates too. Yeah.
And the term.
Yeah.
I don't think you should enter into a loan agreement that's less than like 4 years. I'd say that's kind of the minimum, especially for a big one. Like if you're just getting a lead loan for a couple $1,000 to go on a trip or something, that's different.
Yeah.
But if you're taking like, a sizable amount of risk, I would say that you should have at least 4 or 5 years on the term.
Yeah. Agreed.
We got some super chats coming in. We got some zaps too, Rajat. We got, I want to go through a couple here. So actually every video that we share on the Maple Bitcoin channel, we have the QR code up there. And so I see between last live stream and today, there's actually a couple different zaps that came in from that QR code. But Samantha sent us 1,111 the live free zap. She said, hi, Jor and Rajat. Polly D sent in 777 sats. Thank you, Polly. And Alexandra sent in 3,690 sats for the Maple Bitcoin reserve. She said, "Thank you. I'm happy with the price right now. Greetings, Alexandra." Love that. God bless. And somebody sent in 15 sats. I was going to say that was Sin, but that he usually sends in 18 and 45. So I don't think that was Sin. But anyways, the one thing I did want to say there, Rajat, just kind of going off of the difficulty adjustment, is Rajat Forrest and I actually did 4 or 5 episodes talking about like the difficulty adjustment, talking about the supply schedule, talking about the intricacies of Bitcoin, that I think if you watch those videos, your conviction and your knowledge around Bitcoin would go up significantly. And so we put those in our classroom in the Maple Bitcoin school community. And so if you're interested in learning a little bit more, check out those videos. They're right here for you. So this is we got 5. Wow. Bitcoin fundamentals. So we talked about basically in episode 1, buying Bitcoin, exchanging dollars for sats, and the different techniques for doing that, and the strategies that we use. The private key management, I think it could save some Bitcoin one day for people. We talked about the different strategies of wallets and multi-sig, and where to be storing your private keys, what to be thinking about, things like that. And then the what is Bitcoin part 1, part 2, and part 3. That's where we get into the difficulty adjustment, the mempool, the mining. Look at those 3 happy boys. So yeah, those are all included. Those are all exclusive to our Maple Bitcoin school community. And then we got some lending stuff too. That was a really good episode, actually.
Yeah.
Covered calls, Forest.
Really great video. Yeah. This is, I think that, so actually we can probably go into that super chat that was sent by Param. He said, can Bitcoin replace RESP or life insurance? This is probably something we can talk about in the community, and maybe we'll make a masterclass on this. I'm investing in Bitcoin, but still paying big for both. Is that redundant or a smart risk management that's easier for my family to understand versus Bitcoin access? So I think one of the issues with RESP is that your money can only be used for a certain purpose. You get a grant. Let's say, for example, the government might double how much money you put in. If you put in 1,000, the government might give you another 1,000. But the thing is that your money is locked in. Your RESP can't be self-custody Bitcoin. So if you want to buy Bitcoin in a ETF, then you're kind of defeating the purpose of owning Bitcoin. And maybe we'll go deeper into this. Life insurance is, the thing about life insurance is that it's a way to transfer risk to someone else. So what you're doing is, let's say you pass away and you're the main breadwinner for your family. You want your family to be covered in case something happens to you. If let's say you're stacking Bitcoin instead of getting life insurance, and you pass away before your Bitcoin has really grown, your family is not covered.
It's a good point.
I think there's a value in having term life insurance instead of whole life insurance. Whole life insurance to me is just a scam. You might as well put your money into term life insurance and then buy Bitcoin. But whole life insurance will cost you way more. I know people who are spending like 30 grand a year on whole life insurance, and it doesn't even make any sense. The difference between whole and term life is that with term life insurance, you get covered for a certain number of years, let's say 20 years. With whole life insurance, there's guaranteed to be a payout. So whole life insurance is essentially covering you for your whole life, versus term life insurance is covering you for a partial, a certain term of your life. There's actually Bitcoin insurance now. There's a company called Crowd Health, or sorry, no, not Crowd Health. Is it Crowd Health? Yeah, Crowd Health does health insurance. There's probably like some kind of life insurance there as well. I don't know exactly how that would work, but I would say look into those two. I don't know if, like, for my for my niece and nephew, I'm not gonna open up an RESP for them. I'm just gonna put Bitcoin in cold storage and hand it over to them whenever they get old enough.
Yeah, agreed. That's what I've done. My brother just had a kid in first kid in July. Wow. And the first thing I did was put X amount of sats on what are those things called? Open dime.
Oh, nice.
I said, do not open until, what's that?
Is it a wallet?
It's like a USB thing where basically you can hand Bitcoin to somebody without actually knowing the private keys.
Oh, interesting.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. So I could just give her this USB thing, and it basically has a sealed private key in there. So I can send Bitcoin to it, but they have to, once they puncture a little hole in it and then put it in, they can essentially unseal the private key and they can spend it how they want to.
Oh, very nice.
It's pretty cool. I've given to people those for like weddings and stuff too. So if you want to give a gift of Bitcoin to somebody, I wouldn't recommend giving a gift to somebody unless they actually understand Bitcoin. Otherwise, it's just going to be a waste. Or they'll forget the private key or something. But this is a way to essentially transfer Bitcoin without you knowing the private key and without like actually having to set up a wallet for them and all that. So pretty cool. Look at this. We got Forrest Hoddle over in the Zap stream. What the heck is Forrest doing here? Forrest, you want to hop on? Just kidding. He actually zapped us 420 sats. So Forrest zapped himself 420 sats.
Very nice. Kind
of in a way. I guess me and you get a third of that, or our Maple business does.
Our Lambo fund.
Our Lambo fund. And then Ukemi zapped us 21 sats over on Zapstream. And look at this. We got Knees Duts. $20 super chat. Wow. Beautiful, bright orange super chat there from Knees Duts. He said, or they said, no, you prefer sats, dumping some fiat. Rajat touched on this the other day. Borrowing against Bitcoin is the smart play. But given history of Celsius and others, do you Leaden Strike and others maybe recommend Leaden? Is that what they mean? Do you recommend Leaden Strike and others?
Yeah, I think that's what they're saying. See, the thing, I think one of the issues with Celsius was that you weren't borrowing against your Bitcoin. You were lending them your Bitcoin and they were giving you interest.
Yep.
Right? Is that what Celsius was?
Yep.
So if you're lending your Bitcoin to someone else, whoever has that Bitcoin may not pay you back. But what you're doing in this case is you're using your Bitcoin as collateral and you're borrowing fiat. So It's a little bit different.
I think you could get loans at Celsius though too.
Could you?
But that's the other thing too that Celsius had that Leaden didn't have or doesn't have now. Celsius had all those things like yield on Bitcoin, yield on Ethereum. They had all the altcoins in there mixed into it. Whereas Leaden, they do one thing now. They have Bitcoin lending. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, they got rid of everything else. Yeah.
Yep. And so actually Leaden got through the last cycle like that. I think they were the only lending company that actually survived the last crash. So yeah, we wouldn't talk about Leaden on here if we didn't. I mean, it's hard to say we have full faith in them. We're not sponsored by them or anything like that. So don't hold it against us. We're not telling you to do that. But I do feel comfortable recommending Leaden based on everything I've seen, heard, and kind of the dynamics of the whole thing.
Yeah. Agreed.
Strike, probably the same thing there too.
Yeah.
What was I going to say?
I think Strike is really cool because they're coming out with all these different kinds of products. They have like a Bitcoin backed line of credit. Again, we're not sponsored by these companies or anything like that. We're just like you, right? We're doing the research and we're trying to figure out what the issue is and what the solution is to that issue. That's just what we came up with. We're not telling you, yeah, you should go with this company or this company. We don't know. We haven't seen their balance sheets.
Right. Exactly.
Cool thing about Leaden though is that they show proof of reserves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's another thing too. There's actually one of the happy hours we did pretty early on. Somebody in the chat was asking about the different options of lending, and I think she said that one of the options was a guaranteed not to liquidate or something along those lines. And whenever you're looking at your lending options, don't choose a company who says no risk of liquidation, because then there's something funny going on behind the scenes where they're lending from somebody else and so on. Leaden's pretty upfront with things and how they do things, which I really like. They teach you about the loan to value ratio. They let you plug it in there. They have a really easy calculator to understand. They send you notifications, and they also let you keep a balance of Bitcoin kind of as a reserve. Whereas if your loan to value starts going above 70%, I think it automatically starts selling, or not selling, but funding your account to bring down the loan to value ratio, which is pretty cool. So that's the other thing too. Like Rajat mentioned, you got to kind of know what part of the cycle you're in. If you believe in that anymore, I think that's kind of hard to do at this point. But here's how I think about it is like, look 6 months out. Do you think that the price of Bitcoin will be lower or higher than it is today? That's kind of the best way to do it. Pay attention to the rates, pay attention to the term. And more than anything else, I think, is just understand what you're getting into. Understand how you could get liquidated. Understand how you fund that account to prevent you from getting liquidated. I think that if you can understand those things, you're probably not going to get liquidated. And that's kind of the most important part with this whole thing.
I actually want to share something to just solidify that understanding of how you could get liquidated. So if you, let's say, for example, you use, let's go 0.1 Bitcoin. Let's say you use 0.1 Bitcoin as collateral. You take on a 50% loan to value loan. So your loan to value is the loan that you take divided by the value of the collateral. So in this case, $5,469 loan, $10,938 worth of collateral. If you take on a 50% loan to value loan, you can see here, and your liquidation is at 80%. So what this means is that if your LTV goes to 80%, then you're going to get liquidated. So how does that work? Basically, if Bitcoin's price were to drop to $68,000 from 109,000, they would partially liquidate what you have. So if you have 0.1 Bitcoin as collateral, they're going to start liquidating you. The way to decrease the chances of getting liquidated is to decrease your LTV. So let's say, for example, if Bitcoin goes to 68,000, I'm just going to copy this. I'll just type in 68,000. So at 68,000, your bank is going to start, or your lender is going to start liquidating. So I'll just type in these numbers: 10938. 68,000. Bitcoin's price drops to 68,000. They're going to start liquidating you. And what you'll see is, oh, sorry, I did that wrong. So this should be 5469. And then if Bitcoin's price goes to 68,000, that means your LTV has gone up to 80.41%. There's two ways to fix this. So number one, you can increase how much Bitcoin collateral you have. So let's say you add another 0.1. This is going to go to 0.2. Now your LTV is back down to 40%. Or there's another way to do this. If you don't increase the amount of collateral that you have, you pay back some of your loan. So let's say you decrease the amount that you owe from 5,468 to 3,000. Now your LTV is back down to 44%. So there's two things that you can do. Number one, increase the amount of collateral that you have, or number two, decrease the loan that you have. And that way you can't get liquidated.
Yep. Well said. That was pretty easy to understand, even for dummies like me.
I mean, honestly, some of these concepts are so easy. Like it's not difficult to understand. Once you understand these concepts, it just makes it so much easier to make those decisions. A lot of people are scared of taking on loans. They're scared of taking on debt, but you have to understand that, okay, your interest rate is this amount, but your collateral is increasing by, let's say your interest rate is 10% and your collateral is increasing by 20%.
You win.
It's fine to pay the interest.
You win.
Right. Instead of selling the asset and losing on that 20%, what you're doing is you're keeping the asset and you're taking on a loan. You're using the capital that you have to you're getting liquidity out of it. It was like that story do you remember that story that Jack Mallers told in his his keynote? He was saying how it was called the miser or something, the miser and his gold or something. So basically this guy was he didn't want to spend his gold. All he did was he went and looked at it. So Jack Muller's point was that if you just stare at your Bitcoin on your screen all day, then you're not really getting anything out of it. But his company, of course, he has an incentive here. His company,
yes,
the incentive is to make sure that the goal is to make sure that you can actually spend your money instead of just staring at it. I think that's pretty important to understand. But if you don't if you don't understand how to take on these loans and how to make sure that you don't get liquidated, then you're in trouble.
Yep. Agreed. 2 dogs, 1 chick. 2 dogs, 1 chick. Says Ludden is not a DeFi loan. Please learn the difference between TradFi and DeFi. I don't think we said it was a DeFi loan, right?
I think she was referring to somebody else.
Oh, maybe. Okay. Or maybe she was talking about how like the Celsius loans were DeFi loans where you could.
Yes, maybe. Yes.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I know her. She's really cool, Kristen. If you don't mind, just let us know where you were referring to there, Kristen.
Yeah. So basically the difference between TradFi and DeFi, like at a very simple level, is DeFi is like you can basically post your collateral without this is how I think about it. I don't know if this is the proper term or not, their proper definition, but you can post collateral without KYC essentially.
Yeah.
Like you could use the crypto or the Bitcoin that you have to put as collateral, and it's a decentralized finance. Whereas TradFi, which would be Ledin, which would be Strike, you do have to put your KYC in there, and it's the traditional financial system. So good point. I don't know if she was talking to us or if she was talking to somebody else, but yeah, that's good point.
I think she was just mentioning that the BlockFi ones are DeFi, or the Celsius ones are DeFi, and then Ledin is TradFi.
Yep. Okay, well, we missed a lot of questions here. Did you see any, or do you have any more topics? Oh, I want to talk about Steak and Shake, Rajat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Canon
share that.
Sorry,
That was
what
really
was that?
cool. Share the tweet, the tweet that you
Yeah.
shared on YouTube.
Canon zapped us 420 sats as well. He said, "This is for Forrest. Miss you today, brother." And then Forrest said, "Be there next week. I'm orange pilling the town of Tofino right now." Nice.
Yes, the three of us.
Okay, so yes, Steak and Shake. This is pretty exciting, I think. So everybody knows that Steak and Shake started accepting Bitcoin back in what, April, right before the conference, I think.
That's what it was, I think. Hey, zoom in a little bit.
Yeah. And so we kind of went back and forth with this a while. We're like, why doesn't Steak and Shake? Hopefully, they're at least keeping some of the Bitcoin that they're getting. So somebody pays for a burger and fries with Sats. Hopefully, Steak and Shake is at least holding on to some of those Sats. And it looks like they've made an official announcement. Steak and Shake is announcing the creation of a strategic Bitcoin reserve. All payments received in Bitcoin. All payments. Wow. All payments received in Bitcoin will be placed in our strategic Bitcoin reserve. And this is pretty damn cool too. We are donating 210 sats from every Bitcoin meal we sell to the Open Sats initiative over the next 12 months.
Really great.
When we look back, I think in 5 years from now and how this whole thing plays out, imagine what all these payments are worth if they actually do this. I mean, it's one thing to just send out a tweet to get some free marketing, but if they actually do this and they hold on to those sats that they sell on every sat they receive, just imagine what Steak and Shake could turn into. Like almost a point where I would feel comfortable saying that if they actually do this and Bitcoin turns out to be what we expect it to be, I think Steak and Shake will have a bigger market cap than, let's say, a McDonald's or something like that. Like there's really no reason why they wouldn't.
I hope so.
Unless, of course, McDonald's sees the trend and catches on themselves. But I mean, that's kind of the advantage that some of these businesses have who start accepting Bitcoin now and actually holding on to those sats. They're storing their profits in something that isn't melting. They're storing their profits in something that is actually going to retain its value, and not only retain it, but actually increase over time. And so when you have this fierce competition of poor food, whoever's holding Bitcoin, I think, is going to win that. Same as any industry. The first one who starts buying or accepting Bitcoin and actually holding on to it, I think, has the brightest future.
Yeah.
So big shout out to Steak and Shake. Has anybody watching the show purchased a burger? I know Rajat and I did when we were in Vegas. Actually, they're pretty good. What did you think of it?
Good. The fries were good too.
I liked it. I think I got the double bacon cheeseburger, and the patties aren't too big like they are at some other establishments, and fries were good. I think they cooked their fries in tallow, if I'm not mistaken, beef tallow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, I shouldn't be maybe just bouncing into comments here, but Carlin sent us $5 super sticker. Thank you, Carlin. That's very nice. No question, even just supporting the boys.
Love it.
Okay. Well, what do we figure here? We got about 18 minutes left, Rajat. Is there any other topics you want to talk about? I know there's like 1,000 we could get into right now, but
so many.
Anything on your mind?
Actually, I want to ask your opinion on there was this video from Bitcoin University where he showed Jameson Lopp.
Oh yeah,
saying how if we are bad actors, what are you going to do about it? I don't know what the context there was. I didn't listen to the whole video.
I did.
but it sounds pretty bad.
Yeah, that's the video that I was referring to kind of at the top of the show today, where I said that that was kind of like the most unsettling feeling I've had around Bitcoin in a long time. Yeah, I don't know. Something doesn't sit right with me with that guy.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but the one thing I've noticed through the years is like when people tell you something, you should usually believe them. And I don't know, it's hard to say because when you're on a stage and stuff like that, like it's especially in a debate like that where things are kind of heated and whether it was him just like accidentally saying that or if it was just kind of like a joke or how he meant it, I don't know. It's not up to me to interpret it, but it did give me a really weird feeling. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, same. And I did a little bit more research on what exactly is happening. So if you look into Jameson Lopp's investment, so this, I mean, connecting the dots is kind of hard here because for
Yeah.
some people it's like, oh, who cares? What is the point of this? So I was doing a little bit more research. I know a lot of people probably know this already, but Jameson Lopp is an investor in this company called Citria.
Yeah.
So he's invested probably a significant amount. I don't know what the details there are. I can't tell you what the details are. But if you take a look at, so there was, have you watched this podcast by any chance, Jor? Let me open it up. So it's between Robert Breedlove and Jameson Lopp.
Haven't.
Okay, so there's one part here. So Robert asks this question. He says, "What is the problem that that increasing op return resolves?" So let me know if you can hear this.
Well, this
Okay.
was a question that came up.
Can you
Yep.
hear that?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I want you guys to listen to this and tell me what your opinion on this is. So let's listen to it.
So this was a question that came up with one of the guests we had on arguing the side of knots, and his core question of contention was, what problem does taking the ceiling from of op return from 80 to was it 80 bytes to 100 kilobytes? I think you said. What problem does that solve?
Yeah, so this specifically solves the edge case where someone needs to have visibility of that data in an unconfirmed state across the network, and they can't wait for the data to show up in a block. It's an extreme edge case, and like we said, I think Citria is the only example of that we have now, but who knows what similar second layer protocols will come along that may have similar needs.
Got it.
All right. So what are your thoughts on that, Jor? I thought that was pretty crazy.
Yeah. First of all, I don't think Breedlove's arms are big enough. He should probably work on those a little bit. Yeah. I mean, if you say that it's an extreme edge case, the reason why you're doing it, and the only company that exists right now is Citria, and you're an investor in it, or you're paid by them, or you're connected to them anyway, that's pretty telling. It almost seems like the rest of Bitcoin just has to do this because you have ties to this company, which is an extreme edge case for everybody else. But because it makes sense for you to do, everybody else has to follow these rules now too. And that was the biggest thing with when we're getting into the op return stuff is like, that's the one thing that I've never heard a good answer for is why they're increasing the limits so much. That's what I can't get away from.
Yeah.
And I don't know if knots is the solution. And truthfully, the knots side to me is extremely annoying and extremely emotional. And then the core side is extremely arrogant and extremely repulsive in a way.
Yeah.
And what they're trying to do doesn't make any sense to me. So my main conclusion to the whole thing is like, we definitely need a third option, which, Peter Todd comes out with this new one called Libra or something, Libra Relay. And he said, here's a third option for you, but it's also Peter Todd. So it's like, the whole thing's just like a weird thing that I'm just trying my best to understand, but also not think too much about, because I know that I think anyways, I don't know. I shouldn't say I know. I think Bitcoin's going to be fine either way, but then you throw this whole soft fork into the equation and what that looks like. And I don't know if I stand for that or not. I don't know. There's a lot, man. What do you think about it?
I don't like what he said there.
Agreed.
I don't like what Jameson Lopp said there. So he was saying how they can't wait. and they want their block to be, or they want their data to be available before it's on a block, that shows you that they have very high time preference.
Exactly.
That's a problem. Bitcoin is not supposed to be high time preference. It's supposed to be about very low time preference. And what that means is that you're supposed to be more concerned with the long term than the short term. So if Citria is worried about this over the short term, why are we supporting them when the majority of Bitcoiners are very, very low time preference? If they can't, and I think Bitcoin Mechanic actually referred to this in one of his videos. He said that what did he say? He said something along the lines of, if we worry about the short term, then the long term will be sacrificed. And I thought it was I thought it was very important. But at the end of the day, I don't think this should have happened. They rushed into it. I'm not a technical person by any means, but even I can say that, okay, why would we rush into something like this when there's so many people who don't want it to happen?
Yeah, that's the part that I just keep going back to. Is like, it's so clear that there's so much animosity and emotion and just like things that don't really need to be happening right now. But because I don't know if it's stubbornness, I don't know if it's arrogance, I don't know what it is. And that's the other vibe I get from the core side is like, hey, everybody, we know what we're doing here. You don't. So we're just going to tell you how things are going to be.
Yeah.
Every person I've heard from the core side gives me that vibe of like repulsiveness, arrogance, you know?
Better than you.
Yeah. And it doesn't sit right with me. And I mean, I've said this before on the show, but I did upgrade my node to be a NOTS node. But I really think that the best thing that I could have done, I more so did that as like a middle finger to the core side, just because I did not like how they were doing things. I did not agree with what they were doing. But I honestly think that the best solution would have just been doing nothing. Just leaving core 29, 28, whatever you had running. Because then you're still going to have the filters in there. And you're not going to be updating to 30. And that's the nice thing about Bitcoin, is that there's no automatic updates in Bitcoin. You have to go through this manually. And that's why we haven't seen a huge spike in people running core 30 now, is because you actually have to go in there and manually update it. And there's so much controversy around it. Have you looked at Clark Moody dashboard lately to see what the numbers of core 30 were even?
It's at like 8%.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh,
but I think over the long term,
last.
a lot of people are worried about this, but I think over the long term, it won't even matter. In 10 years, we're going to see that, okay, this didn't even matter. We went through this argument and Bitcoin survived. Even if there's a fork, you get both coins.
Yeah.
Right. So at the end of the day, it shouldn't really matter. It's not like you have to go with one or the other. I feel like what you were saying was right. There's a lot of emotion here. There's a lot of people who are thinking that they're better than everybody else, and that's not great either. That's not a great look for Bitcoiners. That's not a great look for Bitcoin developers. Did you see? Actually, I had a call with somebody today. He told me Gloria Zhao actually deleted her Twitter.
Really?
Did you see that?
Didn't.
That was pretty crazy. I didn't know that before. She deleted her Twitter possibly because of the pressure that she's facing from this.
It's one of those things, right? Like nothing's broken right now. Nothing is broken in Bitcoin.
Yep.
Why are we changing things?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a point that Saylor keeps going, or he said this one point. I think he shared the video recently, which basically said like the biggest threat to Bitcoin is young developers trying to leave an impact, essentially.
Oh, I saw that, yeah.
And that's how I feel.
Yeah.
But the other thing too is like, I don't know if the other side is the option, is the right one, or if that's, I don't know. It's a lot. And I think it's one of those things I really wish that I just would have left my node as it is and just, kept running 28 or 29 because it worked fine. There was no reason to update it. At some point though, because I think that the core side they only patch security, or only, what do you call it? They do security updates, I think, to the last 3 versions.
Yes.
So it's not just like the core 30 that they're doing updates for. If there was a vulnerability or an issue, they would actually patch it for 28, 29, and 30.
Yeah.
So I think if you let it get down, if they're running 36 and you're still on 28, that would be more of an issue. But I really think that, actually, I don't know for sure. I was going to say, I think that things are going to sort itself out, but I actually think that things seem to be heating up more than cooling down.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that has an impact on the price or what, with October. I don't know if it does or not. I think that might just be a story that people are going with. So I don't know. I kind of, when the whole thing started, I kind of thought it was like a net positive for Bitcoin because so many people were learning about kind of the ins and outs of Bitcoin. More people are running nodes, which is very important. But now I'm just kind of seeing like a division. And when there's division, it's not bad, but when things are getting really heated and, emotional more than anything else, it's not a good thing. And things work best when everybody's kind of moving in the same direction. And the thing that I take away from this is like the Centria thing. That's aside from Bitcoin. That's a company that's, that's a problem. That's somebody who's working in a different direction than Bitcoiners are in terms of you wanting to use Bitcoin as money. That company is moving in a different direction. And that's fine. Like, people have the choice to do what they want to, but it's like the Bitcoin network, I think everything moves best when everybody's kind of working in the same direction. And that's when we get the best results out of anything. It's never perfect, but like, I don't know. It just seems like there's so many people going in different directions now and so much noise out there.
Yeah. Like maybe there's something here that we don't quite understand, but I don't like the fact that he's literally he's for this change. And how do we know how many other Bitcoin Core developers are also invested in Citria? And they want the exact same thing. They want Citria to succeed. They want their investment to succeed. So they're looking for that short-term payout, and they don't really care about the long-term in terms of Bitcoin.
Yeah. Forrest said things are definitely heating up. Highly likely there will be some kind of a soft fork.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it really depends how you look at it. I think that if we go into a soft fork world, like a soft fork future, I think that that'll probably be negative for Bitcoin's, even more negative price and sentiment and everything. So it could be good news for people who are wanting to stack some cheap sats for the short term. Like myself, I would be happy with that. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's so crazy to think about. We're 17 years into this officially since the Bitcoin white paper was released back in 2008.
Yeah.
And if we see Bitcoin as a 1,000-year project, then we're in just like the very first part of this. And, it's pretty important, the decisions that are made at this point, because Bitcoin's very hard to change by design. So if we do something that turns out to be wrong and all the effects that may come from that, it's still possible that this thing gets, messed up somehow, which is a little unsettling to me, truly.
Yeah. Agreed.
So that's why I always side on, if it's not broken, then don't fix it. If you can't give me a good reason for changing things, don't change it. But again, I do think that there's a lot more good people, good actors in Bitcoin than there is bad ones. And so over time, I do think that it'll kind of, go in the right direction, but it's tough in the meantime.
Yeah. All right. We got 4 minutes left. Let's do a quick promotion of the school community. I think that's pretty important. Price is going up soon.
Do you get your QR code?
Oh yeah, I'll share that right after. So 171 members right now, $27 a month. We're going to be increasing this. What are we going to increase it to? $30 a month?
I thought we would maybe do like $2 a month for a while or something, or $1 a month. We were kind of doing it based on members, and then there was like 50 people who joined at this price, and we just kind of left it. But yeah, it's one of those things where if you're paying in fiat, fiat is worth less and less every week, every month. Plus, we're adding to it. There's more people joining the community. There's more content being added to it. And so it's not only the fiat's melting, but the value is actually increasing of the community. And it's pretty cool. Everybody I've talked to in that community is think it's worth way more than $27 a month. So those are all the calls that we've done. How many is that, Rajat? Like 12? 14. So you get access to all that. Not only we do it's kind of like a post-game show where there's people from the Maple Bitcoin school community. We jump in like a Zoom call. It's actually all within school though.
Yeah.
And we just chat. You can ask questions that maybe we didn't answer in the show, anything that's been on your mind. It's really, really interesting. Last week I did kind of a 15-minute presentation on why you should start your own school community. which ties into the Maple one and kind of earning some multiple income streams in it. But yeah, you get to show up every week with us after the show, and then you have access to all those as well. So consider joining there. We're going to start the show in about 2 minutes here.
Yep. You can scan this code if you want to join the community. I highly recommend it. It's a free trial. It's free. You have nothing to lose if you try it out. If anything, you may get more value from it than you expected. And
I think that's
you lock in
probably
the price.
the case.
Yeah. And you lock in the price. That's the best part. If you join, $27 a month, price never goes up for you.
True. Yeah, and I think we mentioned it before, but kind of the average price on there for communities is like $50. So we're well below that. We don't want to rip people off here. We just the price of it is obviously to keep out the spam. And we kind of found that through our own experiences in Bitcoin and starting communities and stuff, they're much more beneficial when you have a little bit of skin in the game. If you just join a free community, it's whatever, you could forget about it tomorrow and there's no consequences to that. But you put a little bit of skin in the game, you show up, I guarantee you that you're going to get way more than you pay for the community. That's the whole point, is we want to add as much value where it doesn't make any sort of fiscal sense not to be a member of it. That was kind of our goal from day one. And I think we've shown that so far. So nothing to lose, as Rajat mentioned, 7-day free trial. You can join. What else was I going to put up here, Rajat? I don't know. Anyways.
Actually, I'm going to actually share on this community just for more. Oh, new trial. Awesome. I'm going to share something in the community. I created a video on how to create content to buy more Bitcoin. I'm going to be sharing that in the school community. I think that would be extremely valuable for a lot of people.
Nice. Yeah. I want to watch that myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's there's a couple things to feel bad about in Bitcoin, but hopefully we did a decent job of showing and explaining why we're so incredibly bullish. And it seems to me like these are the times where if you can be bullish when everybody else is bearish, you can really make some hay in the world.
Yep.
And I think Rajat and I both fall under the opinion and theory that the world's changing pretty quickly, and there's going to be a lot of people left behind. And I think the most important thing you could have right now is a plan and a vision and a network. And that's kind of what we're promoting in this community here. So that's what I would say. You can scan that QR code, hop in there. It looks like there's been a couple people joining, and let's get her going, Rajat.
And we have a really cool plan here that Jor came up with. So you grow your knowledge, grow your network, and grow your net worth. That's what we want to help you with in the community.
Yep. So it's not just all about the technical stuff and the understanding of it. We want to help people make more money so they can earn more sats and eventually buy more time in the future. And just having a network of people who are on the same frequency, as you from around the world, it's invaluable, I think.
Agreed.
Okay, Rajat. Well, thanks, buddy. Great show today. Go Blue Jays. We'll be back next week, just like every Friday, for another Maple Bitcoin live stream. If you're not yet, make sure you go over to the Maple Bitcoin YouTube. If you've been watching this on my channel or Rajat's channel, go over to the Maple and subscribe there. It helps us, even if a small amount. And big shout out to everybody who sent us some zaps today. Very much appreciated. So Forrest, enjoy Tofino. Have fun orange pilling people there, and let's head over to happy hour, Rajat. Thanks, buddy. See you, everybody. See you next week.
See you next week.